So today, Thursday, February 14th, we actually got two separate developer streams from Sony San Diego Studio talking about MLB The Show 19 and talking about different points of gameplay that they want to show off leading up to the launch of the game this year. The first stream, which was earlier in the day, was talking all about defense. I was going to go ahead and make a video on it, but there really wasn't anything too much different they talked about in the stream that I already talked about in my video I made. So I felt like the information was going to be just a little bit redundant. They just went a little bit more in detail on certain things about defense. So ultimately, I decided to hold off on making that video. But today in the second stream, it was all about hitting, and hitting is one of the most talked about, one of the most controversial topics when it comes to MLB The Show and what people want to see in the game. So the developers talked a ton about hitting, talked about some of the changes, some of the things they've implemented to make certain players more viable, to make certain situations matter more at the plate. There is a lot to break down here, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys everything you need to know. If you guys are excited for MLB The Show 19 and you want to keep up with all the news leading up to the launch of the game, make sure to subscribe to this channel because I will be covering everything as it comes out on the same day. If you want to be updated, this is the place to be. So make sure to hit that sub button. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to go ahead and get into the hitting, but first off, I want to mention the two new legends that they revealed in these streams. In the first one, they revealed brand new legend Jimmie Foxx. Jimmie Foxx is an old school player, played for the Philadelphia Athletics as well as the Boston Red Sox. He is going to have some big time power in the game. I'm very excited to use him. From the right side of the plate, he is going to be probably one of the better hitters that you can acquire. With his slugging percentage, his power, what he was able to do at the plate, he is going to be a very fun player to use. And in the second stream, the legend that they announced is actually another hitter and another player that people have been asking for a while, and it's Yvonne Pudge Rodriguez. I'm honestly surprised that this guy wasn't in the game last year. With all of the things they wanted to do with fixing catcher defense, I'm really surprised that this guy didn't make it into the cut last year, but hey, better late than never, right? He is going to be an extremely fun card to use. I am already picturing him being my endgame catcher once I see his card. Obviously, we don't know ratings or anything like that, but from what he was doing, especially in his MVP years, I think he is going to be a very, very good card. So I just wanted to mention those two new legends. Now we can go ahead and start talking about the hitting. So the first thing they addressed is bunting. Now, if you've played MLB The Show 18 or even 17, you know that bunting is not really that much of a viable thing to do in the game. The reason is because in MLB The Show 16, there was such an issue with bunting. It was hands down just an exploit. You could bunt with any player in any situation and get on base almost every single time. It didn't matter what the speed or any other attributes were. It just was kind of broken. So MLB The Show, really, they just wanted to take that out of the game, so they really didn't put that much of a fix onto it. So that's why you see bunts going super hard to the third baseman or super hard to the first baseman or whoever it is. So you can't really do a lot of sacrifice bunting unless you send the runner from first, and then you're kind of putting yourself at the risk of, oh, what if I pop up the bunt, etc. So they really wanted to fix that, so I'm going to go ahead and let this clip play, and they're going to show a couple different examples of what bunting is and how they've changed it, and then I'll go ahead and give you guys my thoughts on it.
No more rocket bunts. We did a lot of work tuning bunting both on and offline to mimic just the more put in play percentages that you would see in MLB, and that is more significantly impacted in the offline experience when you're simulating. But online, you know, you're going to be able to use your pitcher to sack bunt. You're going to be able to drag bunt down the line if somebody has a shift on, and you know, we're going to see some of those in the videos coming up, which, you know, I think is a vital part of the game. You know, I know that power in the MLB is huge, but occasionally there's a few managers who like to bunt. They don't want the dinger. So I think it's important that we bring it back in the game, and it's a vital part of the game and a strategy that you can use. Yeah, respect the game.
But you will still be punished if you try to bunt in non-bunting situations.
Absolutely.
And if you just try to spam bunt, you're going to be punished for doing that.
Yeah, if you're up there and you miss your first bunt and you miss your second bunt, you're going to progressively get worse. That third baseman will recognize it if you are a good bunter. If you're a poor bunter, he's like, no, I'm not going to worry about you. Obviously, your skills.
Yeah,
and that's okay. And that just is what it is.
If you're on the borderline, the threshold, they will react according to how often the team is bunting. So if somebody's bunting a lot, that third baseman's going to be more likely to come up and cover it.
So
we got a video here, Kyle.
Yeah. So
videos.
Here we got pitcher up at the plate.
Roll that
runner on second.
Roll that beautiful bunt footage.
And you know, in some situations, you want to get this guy to third. I mean, Bumgarner, you might want to let him hit.
And this is online footage, by the way. This is not offline. This is all online footage. We capture this footage online.
Here we have, and this is with the shift on.
And now a bunt attempt here.
It's right down line.
Bunt.
And this is obviously not to say every time it gets down, but you know,
most of the time
it doesn't get down, but it's there for you as a tool and an option, and it puts a little bit of pressure on, you know, the user on defense when thinking about those shifts.
So as you guys just saw, the bunts that they showed were much more effective. It had Madison Bumgarner at the plate in a sacrifice situation, wanting to get the runner from second to third. He bunted it towards the first base side of the diamond. The guy was able to get to third pretty easily, and it worked out in the sacrifice situation. And then you saw Juan Soto had a shift on him, so he tried to beat the shift by bunting the other way. That didn't really work that well in the show 18, and now you kind of have a counter to that shift if you want to use it. It's not saying you have to use it, not saying it's even going to work every time, but it is there. Also, being able to control the direction of your bunt is going to be huge. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to drag bunt and then it did a push bunt or vice versa. That is a big feature that is going to help. So the next thing that they brought up was pitch speeds. So pitch speeds were another controversial topic in the community this year. Pretty much all of the top players, all of the competitive guys were pointing out that the pitch speeds were significantly lower in this year's game compared to other years' games, which was decreasing the skill gap. And I have to say, I really do agree with them because you could be early on 99-mile-an-hour fastballs consistently in this game, and it really kind of made the fastball ineffective. So in this year's game, when you start playing on those higher difficulties, the pitch speeds are going to increase significantly. Also, the pitch speeds are going to vary depending on what game mode you're playing. If you are playing offline, the pitch speeds are going to be different than what you're playing online, Legend, Diamond Dynasty. If you're playing Legend and Diamond Dynasty, those are going to be the fastest pitch speeds that you will get in the entire game. So I'm a fan of this. It gives the top players and the competitive guys what they want. They're getting those fast pitch speeds at those high levels, and it doesn't really affect the middle of the road guys. Now, to go along with those higher pitch speeds for, you know, fastballs and things like that, the off-speed pitches are going to be a little bit less effective than they were in MLB The Show 18. Due to those slower pitch speeds and the way the off-speeds kind of worked this year, that was kind of the meta of the game. Throw the ball low in the zone and off-speed. Fastballs weren't really that effective. The timing window on fastballs has been shortened, so you're going to have a lot better timing on your fastballs if you want to actually hit them as hard as you could in MLB The Show 18. And you're going to have some better pitch recognition when you're talking about these off-speed, these low breaking pitches down in the zone. They did a lot of different pitch tuning. They also said that knuckleballers and splitters are going to be a little bit less effective this year. Thank the Lord. Phil Necro, please get out of this game. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all turns out when the game drops on the 26th. Next up, they mentioned the home runs per 9 stat on pitchers. If you guys didn't know, that has been a pure simulation stat in the past. It had no impact in head-to-head play. This year, it will. The home runs per 9 will have an impact when you're going up against a power hitter. If you have a guy with a high home runs per 9 versus a power hitter, that's going to decrease the power of the home run hitter by a little bit. Not by a ton. It will still be a power hitter at the plate, but guys who don't allow that many home runs are now going to have an in-game effect to show that. I'm pretty sure that this was a direct, response to how the game worked this year, with power being the only stat that really mattered on a card for hitting. And kind of using that to transition to the next point, they talked a lot about contact hitters.
So one of the things we found out as we were reevaluating the contact hitters is just that they weren't getting the correct amount of like line drives. They didn't have, I guess the best way to put it is they were just a little softer up at the plate. They weren't hitting as hard as they should have. And so in effect, you know, power players were obviously, you know, more important to have in the game. So as we reevaluated this, we worked on that solid middle range of, you know, the PCI for those line drives and hard ground balls through the infield. So here we have Bumgarner, and so, you know, see, I told you he can hit. And this is right up the middle.
Doesn't hit the pitcher.
No pitcher. And part of this is the change due to just the timing windows. It's harder to square up a ball.
Another thing that's going to make contact hitters better overall, and this is something that's on the back end, looking at those terabytes of telemetry data, we found out that contact hitters didn't have enough power.
On the back end side,
not the power attribute, but what was happening basically in the engine, they just didn't have enough power. So that's been something that's been corrected across the board, while there'll be more volume. You're going to see way more singles and doubles, just guys like Tony Gwynn spraying little singles and hits across the field. And I think people should have seen that to some extent when we ran the close out.
Absolutely. So here, Rod Carew, another guy, very high contact.
And this is an online game.
And these are online games. And, you know, he's splitting the gap right there. Pure contactors are will hit absolutely much better this year. And like Ramon mentioned, they just needed more power. They were almost in the back end. They just weren't getting enough, which is why even when squaring up pitches, you didn't see those types of line drives. You saw weaker ground balls or just little duck farts.
Yeah, so
duck fart. I mean, so general, it just was. So.
Yeah, so in general, like the high contact, low power hitters, they're going to hit a higher percentage numbers of singles and doubles.
Yes.
And on the inverse, the high power, low contact guys will hit a lower share of singles and doubles.
So all of that information does sound really promising about the contact hitters, guys like Tony Gwynn, guys like D. Gordon, or, you know, those contact speed type of archetype players should be more effective in the game this year, which is good because they have a place in baseball, and unfortunately they didn't have a place in MLB The Show last year. They also mentioned that they will be able to, you know, kind of foul off more pitches and fight to make contact, whereas big time power guys are actually going to swing and miss more, which is great because it was very difficult to strike out people in MLB The Show 18, especially at higher competitive levels online. Everything they're talking about sounds really promising. I hope it all translates well into the gameplay. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Are you excited for the hitting to be different this year? Are you excited for, you know, bunting to be effective? Are you worried? Are you optimistic? Let me know your thoughts down underneath. Like I said earlier in the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with the MLB The Show news as it comes out. Next week will be Road to the Show information, so if you're into that, I will be covering that as well. Anyway, guys, drop a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.